Hi everybody, and welcome to another great session of 24 Hours of Past SQL Server 2014. And we're very excited that you can join us today to listen to Selçuk Turkaslan's session on migration and deployment for SQL Server in Azure Virtual Machines. This 24 Hours of Past event consists of 24 consecutive live webcasts, and the recordings of the sessions will be available for your offline viewing next week at www.24hoursofpast.com. My name is Ami Levin. I'm your moderator for today's session. I'm a SQL Server MVP, and I work as a mentor for SolidQ here in the US. And before we get down to the session, I have a few quick introduction slides. So Selçuk will speak for about 40-45 minutes, and then you'll have time to answer your questions. So just ask them at the appropriate module on your control panel. If you have any technical issues, you have a small hand icon on the control panel on the right side of your screen. Just press it and somebody here will try to assist you. If you need to maximize your screen, use the zoom button at the top of the presentation window. And as I said before, if you have any questions, put them just in the Q&A field. It's on the right side of your screen as well. There is a short evaluation at the end of the session, and we highly value your feedback, so please take a moment to complete it. It will show up on your screen. I'd like to take a moment to thank our event partner Microsoft, which Selçuk is a part of, and our global sponsors. This staging of 24 Hours of Past would not have been possible without the support and dedication, so we really want to thank them from the bottom of our heart for providing us with such wonderful educational, completely free of charge events. I would also like to bring your attention to the upcoming PASS Summit. On November 4th to November 7th, the PASS Summits will feature over 200 sessions with some of the world's top speakers. So we'll be more than happy to have you join us there. The PASS Summit planned and presented by the SQL Server community for you guys, for the SQL Server community, is the largest gathering of SQL Server and BI professionals on this planet, with over 5,000 attendees from all over the world. PASS Summit is a great place to network and meet with experts, peers, MVPs, and Microsoft staff, with the development team, and everybody who has anything to do with SQL Server. Not only that, it also delivers providing you with the answers to your practical issues with your day-to-day SQL Server tasks, with the knowledge, strategies, and skills you need to stay ahead. Contact your local PASS chapter and you'll get a $150 discount promo code so you can use to register. To find out more, go to www.passsummit.com. And now, without further ado, let me follow to allow you to present the speaker of this next hour, Selçuk Turkaslan from Microsoft. And Selçuk, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. My name is Selçuk Turkaslan, and before I start, I just want to tell that there are a few days in a year that I feel so happy, and today is really one of those days. And thank you for having me at 20 Hours of Past, and it's an honor to be with the whole SQL Server community worldwide. And I've been working on the Microsoft SQL Server content team for almost 10 years, and mostly focusing on data management, programming APIs, and Microsoft Azure technologies. And it's been quite a while migration to Microsoft Azure. And I am writing articles in the MSCI library and also the TechNet Wiki. That's all about me. So today we are going to talk about how you need to migrate and deploy your data, and also the application in the SQL Server in Azure Virtual Machine environment. So here I just actually briefly summarized what I have done in the last 6 years for the Azure platform. I performed lead writer roles for SQL Server in Azure Virtual Machines documentation set in the MSDN library, and the migration guide for the Azure, and also the Azure SQL database. Before I joined Microsoft, I worked as a software engineer, and I love teaching, and I'm very passionate about Azure and SQL Server and databases. So our agenda is full of things, but there are only 4 things that I want to focus. First, migration and deployment principles. The second one is the migration tools. The third one is the deployment paths. And then at the end, we are going to be doing some demos together. So let's learn, before we go to the deployment and migration principles, I would like you to introduce the SQL Server Cloud Continuum, because I know that some of us haven't started using the Azure platform yet. And let's start from the beginning, right? What we had for a very long time, we had SQL Server and physical machines in our corporate and company environment, and these were physical machines, and everything is under our control, and we had the highest control. And then over the time and years, the companies, and I say we because I've been coming from the engineering background, and I worked with you in the past very deeply, and now I'm writing for you, so that's why I'm calling we. Okay, so and then after a while, we actually have realized that we needed some flexibility in terms of provisioning, and then we talked to the sometimes we went and implemented virtualization platforms in our corporate environments, and sometimes actually we just work with the virtualization platform providers. What we have done here, we just had the virtualized machines and appliances, but then we have realized we are not using all the machines and all the SQL Server capacity in the highest amount, because when we have planned our application and database, we planned everything for the highest demand. But we realized that there is a lot of time period in a year that we have not reached that high period, right? And then we actually started exploring the public cloud platforms. The reason is that we wanted to get lower our costs, and also at the same time it's the easy provisioning. So creating a VM in the public cloud platform, such as Azure platform, is pretty easy. But we also have noticed that when we go in this diagram, when we come to the cloud platform, we were losing some control, right? This is part of the fact that because our data and application right now runs in the public platform, let's say it runs in the Microsoft data center, and also Microsoft, actually, you need to know it provides also Azure SQL database, and some of us actually have been confused with this. When should I use Azure SQL database, and when should I use SQL Server in Azure VM? So one of them is the SQL Server in Azure VM. It is part of the infrastructure as a service offering. It is a pretty, like a physical virtual machine in the public cloud platform. The other one is the Azure SQL database. It is part of the platform as a service offering. So what is the difference? We actually recommend SQL Server in Azure VM for existing applications which requires full box product functionality. We recommend Azure SQL database for mostly new cloud design applications that need elastic scale. So when I say new cloud design applications, please do not think that Azure SQL database is only for the new cloud or new databases, or only for the new existing applications. It's not that. You can actually have, if you have the bandwidth and resources to update your application with Azure Cloud Services, and then you can still use the Azure SQL database. So this is just the overall of the SQL Server Cloud Continuum, and let me go and take a look at the migration lifecycle. So in the software development lifecycle, we have some steps, and very similar to that one actually. For migration also we do have some steps. And we start from the analysis phase, right? In the analysis phase, we need to review our architecture. And then if we are coming to the Azure platform, we need to decide if you want to implement databases in the Azure SQL database or in SQL Server in Azure VM. So in this presentation, the presentation is focused on SQL Server in Azure VM, and I am assuming that we have done already this decision, and so I'm not going to be explaining the differences between two right now in a detailed thing. And during the analysis phase, I highly recommend that you go and explore the Microsoft Assessment Planning Toolkit, because it actually just analyzes your current infrastructure environment, and it comes it produces reports, and so which structure, which parts of the application and database you need to change or you need to update before you migrate your application and database to the cloud platform. It is mostly focused on the databases and underlying infrastructure environment. And let's say you do have an existing application running on SQL Server in the on-premises environment, and you might actually ask this question, okay, I'm going to bring my data, how about my application? So you do have an option. You can just put all the application files to a VHD format, to a VHD, and then you can upload it to Azure. We do have a very simple PowerShell. It is called Add Azure VHD PowerShell commandlet. You can use that. So let's say you do have a traditional IIS-based application. You can actually have that application running in the cloud in the Azure VM. And you can just bring the setup files in a VHD format, and you can install your application in the cloud. Or you can use SQL Server as a backend database, but at the same time you can build new Azure Cloud Services solution. So Azure platform both accepts both existing applications, and also that offers you new solution development opportunities. Let's say Azure Cloud Services. For the data migration, again, it is very simple. You need to put your data in a virtual machine in the on-premises environment and upload the VHD to Azure. If you don't want to actually use that path, or you can just migrate your schema and data to Azure using migration tools, and I will be explaining these migration tools in this presentation. Let's say you have done the application migration and then the data migration, and now you are in the Azure platform, right? And in this case, just like you do in the on-premises environment, you need to do optimization and testing. You are already doing this in the on-premises environment, so there is nothing new here. You need to go and find out the bottlenecks, and you need to resolve those. And also you need to make sure that your database runs perfectly in the Azure platform in terms of performance. So you need to make sure you are still running the performance testing procedures, and also that you perform the functional testing. Let's say you have done with the optimization testing, and then it comes that everything is ready and running. You need to operate, and you need to be performing the operation and management. Just like you monitor application and database performance in the on-premise environment, you need to do the same thing in the Azure platform and Azure VM environment as well. So for SQL Server, we do have dynamic management views enabled for you, just like the same dynamic management views and performance counters you are already using in the on-premises environment. For data recovery and high availability, again, Microsoft provides a geo-replication for the VMs if you enable them on the portal. But if you do not wish to enable them, or you might actually use it as a backup policy as well. But just like you do in the on-premises environment, we recommend that you need to implement high availability and disaster recovery solutions for your SQL Server databases in the VM in the cloud. So this includes always-on availability groups, for example. So we talked about the technical migration lifecycle. Now let me move to the next slide. And so this slide is going to give you just a broad overview of what we have and what we are providing in the Azure platform, just an overview, and I will be quick here. And also for those of you who did not see the Azure platform, I would like to go back to the platform and just show you briefly over there. So let me log in my remote desktop. This is my desktop computer. And this is the Microsoft Azure platform. I logged in with my account. And these are my virtual machines. If I want to come and create a new virtual machines, I click New Virtual Machine and from Gallery. And here I see actually a lot of different virtual machines. But here I'm just images. I'm just going to use the SQL Server one. I click SQL Server. And I actually can see which type of images available for me. All of them actually platform provided images, and they come with the default options. So let me go back to my slide again. Okay. So we have seen where the platform images are. So with the platform images, it starts from the SQL Server 2008 R2 and it goes to SQL Server 2014. They all come with the default options and they include SQL Server integration services, reporting services, and analysis services. For license, again, you are paying by per minute, and once you deploy the platform image, you are responsible for patching it because it is yours. And also there is another option. You can bring your own image, but in this case you need to be aware of the license mobility. So this means you are responsible for bringing your SQL Server license, right? And there is tons of information at azure.com site about the license mobility with software assurance. If you bring your own image, you need to do this. You need to create an image in your in your corporate environment that includes SQL Server, and you need to upload this image in a VHD to Azure Storage account, and then use that image to instantiate a new VM. And if you actually use the sysprep tool on the VHD, that means you can create multiple VMs in the Azure portal. But again, you cannot use only one license for multiple VMs, right? You need to be aware of the license policy here. Once you create the image, you are responsible for patching it. So I actually want to show you the portal again, because here I'm mentioning the standard compute tier because the reason I actually wrote it here, we recommend that you use the standard compute tier for SQL Server in Azure Virtual Machines, as it supports auto-scaling and load balancing. So let me go and see where it is. Okay, so I'm here in the SQL Server, and I'm going to choose SQL Server 2014 RTM Standard. For test purposes, I would like to create this VM with you. Today is 6/25, and here I am choosing the standard. Okay, I actually wrote the username, password, and now I will click button. And in the virtual machine configuration, you will see this cloud service. So cloud service is a new term that comes with the Azure platform, and it is basically a container for one or more virtual machines you create. It is also a programming logic if you want to deploy your Visual Studio application into it. But now we are just going to be focusing on the virtual machine part. So I am saying that create a new cloud service for this, and it's the DNS name is this, test 625. And since I am in Redmond now, I'm going to choose West US. That is closest to me. And for this one, I will just let the Azure to create a storage account for me. Storage account concept is again it is a new concept that comes with the Azure platform. The storage account, basically the storage area, or just think of it like that your VMs are being and your disks are being stored. Okay, and the availability set also, it's important. for virtual machines, let's say if you have more than one virtual machine, SQL Server virtual machines, we actually recommend that you put the multiple virtual machines into the same availability set to be more available across because they will be deployed across fault domains and update domains. So when one VM is down, the other one will be up and running. So this is recommended. But I'm just going to skip that right now. But here I would like to point to this. These are very important things. You see the platform is opening up a remote desktop for you automatically, right? But you do have the option to change. But now I'm going to and also the PowerShell so that you can access the VM in the Azure from the PowerShell. I'm just going to keep the default values and click the OK button. And here there are a lot of extensions that I can add, but right now I am only interested in the Windows Azure, the Windows Server and also the SQL Server. So I'm just clicking the button. So we have learned how to create the virtual machine. So let me go back to my presentation deck. Okay, and let me go back. So we have to we know right now we know how to create a VM, SQL Server VM in the Azure platform. The second question is that how am I going to connect to it? So this is very important, right? The VM shouldn't be alone over there. So there are two options that I need to know. I can actually access my SQL VM in the cloud environment through the public endpoints. So some of our customers and the readers in the MSc are confused. I mean, how do I find the public endpoint and what does that mean? I will actually show you. The other one is the site-to-site VPN tunnel. So what this means, let's say you do have virtual, you have machines in the corporate environment, and you would like to extend your on-premises network to Azure. In this case, you set up the virtual network between your on-premises and the cloud environment, so that this way your Azure VMs can be seen to your on-premises machines through their private IP addresses. But here in this presentation, we will be focusing on public endpoints. Okay, let me go and show you the public endpoints so that you will know how to connect to your SQL Server in Azure VM from the SQL Server Management Studio in your on-premises environment. So let me go back to my desktop machine. So you know that we have just created a new one. So this was our new virtual machine. It says it's still starting, but I think I can show you the endpoints here. So this is the area that endpoints. So here you can see we have this remote desktop available already opened, and also that we have the PowerShell. So I will actually just go and take a look at one of the existing ones because the other one is still running. So let's say if I want to connect to this virtual machine, all I need to do come and click connect button, and this is going to open up the remote desktop. Okay, and then I can connect to it here by writing my username and password. So let me close that. Okay, but this actually just this only allows me to connect it from the RTP, right? How am I going to access to this virtual machine from my own premises? I don't want to do anything else. And in this case, you need to come and add a new endpoint, add a standalone endpoint. I do have one of the machines that I do already have the endpoint, so I would like to find out that one. Okay, so this one actually I opened early this morning. So I gave 57500 and also the I did as a private port 1433. I opened this on the Azure portal. Okay, so think about this endpoint like opening up a port on the Azure firewall machine, right? Think about like that. And then what you need to do, let me go back to my slide. So we learned this part. We open the port on the Azure portal, okay, and we know that this 3389 RDP is opened on the portal by default. But now we want to access our virtual machine in the cloud platform from our on-premises computer. So we open the Azure endpoint on the place that I showed you earlier. So this, and then we actually need to come and open the TCP port in the SQL Server VM. And then we need to open we need to create SQL Server authentication login in the SQL VM. So everything actually documented in the MSTN library. If you download the deck, you will be able to see the detailed tutorials and also the how-tos. So there are only 2 or 3 steps and then nothing complex. Okay, so let's go and talk about the migration tools. So here I divided the migration tools into two categories. One is the migration tools that are provided by SQL Server. The other one is the other category is the migration tools that are provided by Azure itself. So let me talk about the SQL Server migration tools and techniques. The first one, actually, I want to talk about this: deploy a SQL Server database to Azure VM Wizard. This is a new tool that comes in the SQL Server Management Studio 2014, SQL Server 2014. Okay, and the wizard basically does a full database backup operation, and it copies the complete database schema and the data from a SQL Server user database. This wizard also does all of the Azure VM configuration for you, so no pre-configuration of the VM is required. So with this one actually what you are doing, you are getting the data and schema and the whole database from your on-premises environment, and you are actually deploying everything to the SQL Server in Azure VM directly. So let's go talk about the backup and restore to or from URL. So with this one, you have been already using the backup to URL, right? Backup to disk, or backup to file for a while. And so this is also a new functionality that came with the, as I remember, with SQL Server 2012 cumulative update 2. So if you are using, if you want to continuously update your database in the cloud, I actually recommend you to use this one. And then the third option is the always on availability group at Azure Replica Wizard. So this one actually basically provides this. If you wish to achieve zero downtime with your online services, this could be a good solution. So consider it using to reduce downtime associated with migration, especially if the on-premises database is being used for production workloads. Let's say you have already set up the hybrid Azure VNet between the on-premises and also the cloud platform. Then you have been using SQL Server Import Export Wizard and SQL Server Copy Database Wizard previously. You can still use them. The fourth one is the backup tool. Backup tool also is I actually added links to everything. When you download the deck, you can go and explore by yourself as well. Backup tool is a downloadable tool. It's available in the Microsoft Download Center. It just gets your data and schema, just uploads to another SQL Server database instance. And another fifth one that you can use, SQL Server data tools. So let's go and explore the Azure. We will be doing some demos for some of those today. Let's go learn about the Azure migration tools. When I look at the Azure migration tools and techniques, they look actually very simple to me. And so one thing is one path that you can follow. You can just create a virtual hard disk in your on-premises environment, and you can put data, log, or backup files into it, and you can just upload it. I'm hoping that I will have enough time to show how this works. Let's say you want to upload a VHD. In this case, detach your database in the on-premises environment and copy the data and log files into the VHD, and then upload it, and then attach it in the Azure platform in the SQL Server in Azure VM. And again, you can do the same thing with backpack files and also backup files. And then another option, let's say you don't want to, you have a very big database. And we have this new service. It is called Azure Import Export Service. Please consider using it when you have a database larger than 1 terabyte and you need to reduce downtime when moving to the cloud. So how this works? This says basically you prepare a hard drive and you encrypt the hard drive by using BitLocker. And then you create a job on the portal, and then you actually send the hard drive to the Microsoft data center by using FedEx Courier. And then the Microsoft support professional gets the hard drive and imports your data to the cloud for you. The other actually options provided by Azure, it's the, that I actually showed you remote desktop option. In a remote desktop, you can do some copy paste operations, but I do not recommend for doing this for big files. You can just use it for small files. And let's say you do have the hybrid connectivity between on-premises and the cloud. You can actually just see the virtual machines in the cloud environment as if they are your on-premises machines, and then you can just do file copy to a share. So let's talk about the deployment paths a little. Again, there are two options. There are two paths. You can bring your own SQL Server, or you can use platform-provided SQL Server. So when you bring your SQL Server, first actually we talked about the license, right? You need to be aware of that. You need to investigate this. But what are which paths that you can follow? I actually would like you to introduce this. And also I actually in the deck, when you download, you will see I added so many links. So how you are going to do these things in a very easy manner, and all the documentation is in MSCN library. Let's say you do have the SQL Server machine in the on-premises environment, and go ahead and run sysprep tool on the SQL Server virtual machine and upload this to the Azure platform. And with that, you can create multiple SQL Server virtual machines in the cloud. Let's say you do have a SQL Server virtual machine in the on-premises, but do not run sysprep on it, and upload this as a disk. And in this case, you can create only one virtual machine by using that uploaded. So this is another option. Let's say you have actually just gone and created a Windows Server VM in the Azure platform. And in this case, you can actually just put your SQL Server setup files into a VHD, and you can upload this to the Azure platform. You can attach to the VM in the cloud, and you can just set up the SQL Server over there. So in the demos, I will show you how to attach. Or let's say you have this Windows Server VM up and running in the Azure platform. You can just transfer your files, set up files to the Azure by using Azure Virtual Network, because when you set up the Azure Virtual Network, all the machines in the cloud platform will look like they're your own corporate machines. So let's say you are following the platform, you are just you don't worry about the existing license when you are ready for using the platform provided SQL Server images. Then in this case, you go and create an Azure SQL Server VM using a platform image. I showed you how you can create that. And then we talked about the deployment wizard. I will quickly show you how it works. You can just deploy on-premises databases to Azure and SQL VMs via the deployment wizard in SQL Server Management Studio. Or you can just copy SQL Server database schema and data to Azure VM using the database migration tools and scripts. And now,
Silchen?
Yes, please.
So we have about 10 minutes before we start the Q&A, although so far there hasn't been any questions. If you want to go 5 minutes more, I believe that will be okay.
Okay, that will be great, because I would like to show some demos, yes.
Okay.
Let me go back to my demo machine. Okay. So I just want to introduce the tools very quickly and where they are and how they work. Okay, the first one is the deployment tool, database deployment tool. So you come here, test database. Let's say I click that source database and right click, tasks, deploy database to a Windows Azure VM. And then you just connect your current existing corporate database. And then you choose the management certificate, deployment publishing settings file. This is the settings file that you get from the Azure platform. I have so many subscriptions in the publish settings file. The publish settings file is the file that includes your connection information to the Azure platform. So here I am choosing which VM I'm going to be deploying. For this wizard to work, I need to make sure that this VM has cloud adapter port opened. So let me show you where was it. So we are in the VM itself. We have this endpoint section. Before I run this demo, I needed to go and create an endpoint here. Okay, and it must have this number 11435. Okay, and then you can just click the storage account. And storage account is a new term, is a new concept for some of us. So I would like to show you where it is. So in the portal, we do have virtual machines, as you see, and also the cloud services, SQL databases. But storage is right here, and that's an important concept because with the storage, when you click that, you can see a lot of containers and the disks. But you need to make sure that that you are actually accessing the storage with this access key. So this is important. Okay. So let me go back to I specified the username and password earlier. So let me connect to that. I'm right now connecting the virtual machine, and then it will create. Previously, this morning, I created already test DB. So this wizard does not overwrite the existing database, so it is giving another name. I'm going to close that because I actually would like to show you another migration tool, and very quickly. So this one is the backup. So what it does, tasks, backup database. Here, backup to URL. That is the only difference. Okay, and also the use specify the location in the container, and also this is another new concept. Let me show you. Storage. Okay, storage, and this is my storage account, and this is my container. And previously I created this container, so all of my backup files here, and this is how it works. So what it does actually, this one, it just copies the backup file to the storage account in the Azure platform, and then you need to log in to the VM in the portal, and you need to restore. Okay. And the other tool that I actually would like to show you is the SQL Server data tools. Okay, here you need to click tasks and export data to your application. Click next. For those of you, I actually would like to talk about this. This is the it exports the schema and data from a database to the logical backpack file format, and click next. And here I am choosing the saved Windows Azure. And right now I actually entered this information before, but we talked about this. This is my storage account, and this is the account key that I actually found out here, right? I came to the SQL deployment storage account, and I clicked the dashboard, and I found out my key here. Only I can know this because this is my storage account. So I did click connect, and here I'm going to choose container 624. So I'm expecting that it is going to create. Okay, it says it already exists. Do you want to overwrite this blob? Yes. Click finish. So it is basically it's just moving the backpack file to the Windows Azure storage environment. Let's go check if it is over there. I chose that one and containers. I remember I chose container 624, and yes, it did overwriting. Yeah, 441. This is the Redmond time. So, and after that, what I need to do. So this is in this in the cloud right now. I need to connect to one of my machines. I would like to connect to my SQL VM VHD. To connect to it, I need to click dashboard and connect. This is going to open up RDP file for me. And I need to write my username and password. Okay. So right now, the remote desktop, I am actually making a remote desktop connection to my SQL VM in the cloud platform. As you can see, the remote desktop is using the name of the DNS name of the SQL VM, and also the endpoint portal that I opened it by myself. It is the same same thing that you will be using, and when you make a connection to the Azure platform, you need to provide the DNS name as well as the public port that you're going to open by yourself. So here, let me open up the SQL Server Management Studio. This is my VM in the cloud platform. And before actually I open this, I would like to show you this link, SQL Server Getting Started link. When you click, it's going to go to the MSCN library. SQL Server Management Studio. And I can actually connect to it by using my Windows authentication. When I created this VM, I did set up the test admin as a user of this machine, so I can use it to connect to it. But if I want to connect to this virtual machine, this SQL Server from my on-premises computer just through the public endpoints, I need to make sure that I am actually using the SQL authentication login. Okay, here I come to the databases. Okay, and I need to do import data tier application. So with this one, I need to do the import from Windows Azure. So account key, I show you where it is, and it's the storage account that I would like to use, and connect. But I would like to use my backpack file from the container 624. Click next. And here I will give a new name, new database name, testdb3, and I'm clicking next and click finish. So what I did previously, I did export data tier application to Azure storage, and then I logged into my SQL in the cloud. And now I am importing data tier backpack from the Azure storage to my SQL VM in the cloud. TestDB and TestDB2, I created them in this morning, but now I'm creating the TestDB3 for this session. So close. It's over there with my test tables. Okay. So the next one that I would like to show you, actually, it is the Upload Azure VHD. But before I go, I also would like to introduce you just sign out. I would like to introduce you to Azure Import Export Wizard. Azure Import Export. So where you can find it. So in the portal, we do have the storage, because you might have very big data, and you may not want to use the internet to transfer your data, right? It is perfectly okay. So in this case, you come to the storage account, and in the dashboard, you are creating an import job. Click to create an import job, and with this one, you know that you have already prepared your hard drives, right? You click that one, and then you give your contact name information, and then in the next window, you are just setting up the hard drive virtual journal file. So currently, in this session, in this presentation, I won't be showing it because it needs also requires FedEx, so I don't have that connection with FedEx right now. But you need to know that it should be encrypted BitLocker, and this functionality is available up to 4 terabyte, and you may have up to 20 jobs per storage account. These are the things that you need to know. So let's go and take a look at the Add Azure VHD, how it works. Previously, before this session, I created VHD. In my deck, I actually also showed the basic steps, so I would like to introduce to that one. A little bit I would like to talk about this. It is actually pretty simple. So what I did, I went to the Hyper-V Manager, this management, and I created the VHD on premises. And then I copied my SQL Server data and log files to this VHD. And then in the Hyper-V Manager, this management, I did detached, because I wanted it to be ready to upload it to Azure. And then I actually get a subscription ID and management certifications from the management portal. I will show you which PowerShell commandlet you are going to use for this. And then I used Azure VHD commandlet to upload my VHD to Azure. And then I actually just went and attached this disk to my SQL Server in Azure VM. So let's go take a look at this.
Selchin?
Yes.
So I think it's about time to start wrapping up. We have one question from Niraj, so if you can, in just 2 minutes, wrap it up.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
okay.
I would like to just show this without running in the PowerShell window. So basically, these are the steps: get Azure publish settings files, and then import this, and then set up your subscription. Just to make sure that you are using the correct subscription, and then run the Add Azure VHD. And then let's say you have this already available. What it does, the Add Azure VHD tool, it actually just uploads your data to the containers. Okay, in this container, you go to the disks, virtual machines, and disks. And once uploaded, you create the VHD. You create the image by using the uploaded VHD. Test disk. And in the container, you can choose one of those, and then it is uploaded. Let's say I would like to choose this one. Click Open. And then right now, this VHD does not contain an operating system, so I'm not clicking that. And it will just create a disk for me. And once it is created, I can just go ahead and attach it to my virtual machines. I think there is an existing one, so that's why it didn't do that. But let's say I do have this virtual machine. and I want to attach the disk to this, I click and I come to the dashboard and click attach and attach disk. Attach disk. And here I can see the available disks to attach. And once attached, when I log into the virtual machine in the cloud, I can actually see this as one of my F or G drives. Yeah, please go ahead. I would like to answer the question. I think I'm done with my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. We have a question from Niraj, who is asking, we are planning to implement a hybrid cloud platform in our environment.
Yes.
Is there any document that talks in depth about data latency and performance optimizations in terms of using cloud platform as read-only, always-on replica?
That's a very good question. We do have some performance articles and also the high availability and disaster recovery tutorials. I would like to go to the MSTN library and show it to you right now. So in the MSTN library, I would like to go to the Azure Chrome. So under the Microsoft Azure, let me close this. Solutions, infrastructure, under SQL Server. For high availability and disaster recovery, we do have hybrid IT tutorials that you can take a look. It is site-to-site VPN. It actually is based on the site-to-site VPN connection. In addition, for performance in the SQL Server in Azure Virtual Machines, it also involves the recommendations for the hybrid IT solutions as well. So this is the performance guidance. It's a white paper. I hope these guidance will help.
Yes, I believe this is spot on to Niraj's question. And I think that with this, we can wrap up this excellent session. I've enjoyed it a lot, and we'll give the attendees time to go and join our next session. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you very much, Selchin, and we hope to see you soon. Anything you want to say for conclusion?
Yes, I would like to thank everybody for listening, and I hope to connect with all of you again in the future. Have a great day and night.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you again for joining.
Okay, bye.